The council chamber fell silent as the holographic feed ended, showing the blackened ruins of an entire battlefield. No one spoke. The air felt heavy with quiet fear that even the oldest of the alien delegates would not put into words. Humans had not fought a war in more than a century, and yet their shadows still haunted every species in the galaxy. Their presence at the council table was minimal. Only one ambassador, a calm woman named Mara Ellis, who sat with her hands folded, listening as alien diplomats argued among themselves. They must never be allowed to take part in combat again. His Senator Koresh of the Zyri Dominion, his insectoid mandibles clacking nervously. It was a mistake even discussing lifting the ban. Have you forgotten what they are capable of? Across the table, General Thravos of the Korgal Empire scoffed, his scaled arms folded in disdain. Old myths. Your fear of humans is ridiculous. They are fragile, weak creatures who lack natural weapons. If they were truly so dangerous, why have they stayed silent for decades? You weren't there during the Red Sky Wars, replied an aged Saren diplomat, his voice cracking with memory. I saw what they did. I saw how quickly they adapted, how they fought not just with weapons but with their minds. Entire fleets dismantled like they were toys. Entire worlds surrendered without a shot fired because their soldiers were too afraid to resist. Mara Ellis said nothing. She merely observed, her expression calm, her presence unsettling in its quiet confidence. Every word spoken about her species washed over her like rain, and still she did not speak. That silence was what frightened them most. The debate raged on, voices growing louder, fear mixing with arrogance. The younger species of the galaxy had never faced humans in war. To them, the ban was just a story, an exaggerated rule born from outdated fears. They cannot be that dangerous, said General Thravos again. If they are so terrifying, why hide behind this ban? Perhaps the ban exists only to protect them. Not us. I say we challenge it. Mara finally raised her eyes. For a brief moment, she locked her gaze on the general, and he felt something crawl down his spine. There was no anger in her eyes, no emotion at all. Only a steady, unshakable certainty, as though she had already seen the outcome of his arrogance. The council erupted again, alien voices overlapping as factions formed, those who begged to keep the ban, and those who sought to remove it, believing humanity's fearsome reputation to be a relic of history. They fight like animals, Koresh snapped. No, worse, they fight like machines that think. Every war we've seen, every conflict in galactic history has rules. Humans have none. They will adapt. They will twist every battlefield into their weapon, and they will not stop until their enemy ceases to exist. Exaggeration, Thravos snarled, slamming his clawed fist on the table. If they are so powerful, why haven't they expanded? Why haven't they conquered? The elder Saren diplomat turned to him slowly. Because they don't want to. You mistake their silence for weakness when it is restraint. That is what terrifies me most of all. They are the only species who could take the galaxy in their hands, and choose not to. The room fell quiet again. Mara's voice finally broke the silence, soft but carrying across the chamber like a blade through air. We remember why we do not fight. The rest of you seem to have forgotten. Her words held no threat, no anger, and yet every delegate who heard them felt a chill. There was weight in her tone, a weight born not of bravado but of history, a history that had been deliberately buried because remembering it was too dangerous. Whispers spread among the younger species, questions forming in hushed tones. What had humans done that frightened the galaxy so deeply? Why did no records exist beyond fragments and censored reports? Some believed the stories, that humans had ended 3 wars in a single generation, that they had broken the will of species far stronger and more advanced than themselves. Others dismissed them as fear-mongering tales from older empires desperate to cling to power. But those who had fought beside humans knew better. They had seen soldiers who never surrendered, engineers who turned scrap into weapons deadlier than any fleet, and commanders who outthought entire armadas. Humanity's greatest strength was not their strength or weapons. It was the way they thought. The debate would continue, but in that moment, the decision was already inevitable. Somewhere beyond the council chamber, a powerful empire was preparing to test a ban. They believed the galaxy's fear of humanity was misplaced, a relic of superstition. Mara Ellis rose from her seat as the council continued to argue. She said nothing more, simply gathering her datapad and walking out of the chamber. Her departure was quiet, but every delegate watched her leave. There was something unnerving about the way she carried herself, not proud, not arrogant, but certain. Koresh leaned toward the Saren diplomat. If they challenge humanity, what will happen? The elder alien's voice was heavy with dread. Then the galaxy will remember why the ban exists, and it will be too late to stop what comes next. Outside the chamber, Mara stepped into the long, gleaming corridor. She paused briefly, looking out at the stars through the massive observation window. Her reflection stared back at her, calm and unreadable. "They really don't remember," she murmured quietly to herself. "And soon they will." She turned away and walked into the shadows of the corridor. Somewhere far beyond, humanity's fleet still waited in silence. Ancient ships, hidden for generations, their designs long forgotten by the rest of the galaxy. They did not need to be ready. They had always been ready. The first spark had already been struck. General Thravo stood at the center of the War Council chamber, aboard his Empire's flagship, surrounded by high-ranking officers of the Korgal fleet. Holograms of human colony worlds floated above the table, marked with attack vectors and projected timelines for conquest. The plan was simple: strike hard, seize a human colony, and humiliate humanity in front of the entire galaxy. Once the ban appeared meaningless, the Council would have no choice but to lift it. "This will be over in days," Thravo's growled with confident smirk, his scales glinting under the chamber's lights. "They have no fleets in active service, no allies, no deterrent. We will land on their colony before they know what happened." His officers exchanged uneasy glances. "General, the stories." "Stories," Thravo's interrupted sharply. "Old propaganda. The galaxy treats them like predators in children's tales. Look at the data. Small military, no recent wars, outdated ships. The ban is nothing but politics. We will prove it." Across the stars, the human colony of Astervale was quiet, peaceful, unprepared for war, or so it appeared. Thravo's forces moved swiftly, arriving in system with overwhelming firepower. Alien soldiers stormed the surface, seizing settlements with minimal resistance. News feeds across the galaxy lit up with footage of Korgal soldiers raising their banners over human cities. On the Galactic Council floor, chaos erupted. Delegates demanded sanctions. Others called for immediate intervention. But humanity's representative, Mara Ellis, merely stood as the uproar raged. When asked for a response, she said only 5 words. "You wanted this. You have it." She walked out without another word. Back on the colony, human civilians complied with orders, surrendered without fight, their faces calm, unreadable. Thravo's watched the footage with satisfaction. "Look at them," he scoffed at officers. "No fight left in them. The legends are lies." Yet unease crept through his fleet. The human colonists were too calm, too quiet. No crying, no begging, no chaos, just silent compliance. When Thravo's ordered the colony's main power grid to be cut, his technicians found the infrastructure strangely redundant, built with far more backup systems than necessary. They over-engineered everything. One officer muttered, "Studying schematics. Even their farms have multiple fail-safes. It's unsettling." "Overcautious prey," Thravo sneered. "That's all." But as the days passed, small incidents began to unsettle the occupying forces. Supply drops went missing. Equipment malfunctioned at an impossible rate. Patrol routes were disrupted by sudden, inexplicable failures in navigation systems. Soldiers vanished without a trace, leaving behind weapons and armor, but no signs of struggle. Thravo's grew agitated, demanding explanations, but none came. His Empire's fleet still celebrated their victory, broadcasting propaganda across the stars, mocking humanity for their silence. "They are weak," Thravo's told the galactic media. "This ban was always to protect them, not you. Soon, the galaxy will realize who truly holds power." In the council chambers, the elder species exchanged grim looks. They don't understand what they've done, Koresh whispered. The Saren diplomat closed his eyes. No, they don't, but they will. On the colony, Thravos awoke one morning to a chilling sight. Every human settler had vanished. Entire towns were empty. His forces searched, but there were no signs of evacuation. No trails, no vehicles, no heat signatures. What is this? He snarled. A junior officer's voice trembled as he held out a small device found in the center of the colony square, a simple human datapad. On it, a single sentence flashed in plain galactic script. You wanted a fight. We accept. At that exact moment, long-range scanners reported something impossible. Dozens of unknown contacts appeared on the edge of the system. Silent, unregistered ships that had not existed in any galactic database. They moved without transponders, without communication, closing in at a speed no Korgal vessel could match. Thravos felt his throat tighten. Raise the fleet. Prepare for battle. But the fear creeping into his soldiers' eyes told him what he already knew. The humans hadn't been weak. They had been waiting. The Korgal fleet moved into defensive formation, weapons primed, shields raised, every sensor scanning the void for signs of the approaching human ships. Yet the contacts kept flickering in and out, impossible to track properly. They didn't behave like normal fleets. Their movements were erratic, deliberate, unpredictable. Where are they? Thravos barked. Find them? They're everywhere, a sensor officer stammered. I don't understand. Every time we lock on, they vanish from our scopes. They're... A blinding flash cut him off as the first Korgal destroyer erupted into flames, split cleanly in half. No warning. No detected weapons fire. Just destruction. Panic rippled through the bridge. They're behind us. No, they're above. Another explosion. Another ship lost. The humans didn't send messages, didn't demand surrender. They struck with terrifying precision, targeting key ships first. The communications relay, the command cruiser, the supply carriers. They know our weak points, an officer whispered. Every shot is perfect. It was true. The humans weren't attacking randomly. They were dismantling the Korgal fleet like predators tearing apart prey piece by piece. The galaxy had seen wars before, bloody, brutal wars. But this was different. There was no grand battle, no exchange of fire. It was surgical, calculated destruction. Thravos tried to rally his forces, but the humans never stayed in one place long enough to be hit. Their ships were smaller, stranger, built in ways that defied galactic conventions. They used gravity wells as cover, slingshot maneuvers that should have been impossible with such precision. General, we can't. Fight! Thravos roared, desperation creeping into his voice. Fight them. But even as his ships fired into the darkness, their weapons found nothing but empty space. The humans always struck from angles no one expected, exploiting blind spots that alien tacticians had never considered. In just hours, the Korgal fleet was in chaos. Supply lines were cut, command channels scrambled, morale collapsing. Human ships left crippled vessels intact, their crews alive but terrified, drifting helplessly. Survivors sent frantic messages across the galaxy, warnings, pleas, anything to make sense of what was happening. On the Galactic Council floor, those messages arrived in real time. Delegates watched in silent horror as ship after ship was erased from existence. The younger species, who had once mocked the stories of human war, now sat frozen, realizing they were witnessing the truth behind the ban. The elder Saren diplomat spoke softly, voice almost mournful. This is why we never fight them. Not because they cannot lose, but because they will not stop until they've won. Back in the Korgal system, the last of Thravos' command ships was crippled, its engines dead, weapons offline. The general stood at the shattered bridge, eyes fixed on the star-filled void outside. Where are they? He whispered, trembling. A voice crackled over an open channel. Clear, calm, human. You thought we were weak. You mistook silence for fear. You were wrong. And then, like ghosts, human ships appear around the crippled fleet. Sleek, dark, bristling with weapons that looked alien even to the Korgal. No more attacks came. They simply hovered there, letting the Korgal soldiers see them. It was not victory through annihilation. It was something worse. It was a lesson. The humans wanted survivors. They wanted witnesses. When the feet of Thravos' broken fleet hit the council chambers, no one spoke. The chamber was silent, but for the sound of panic transmissions coming from the survivors. The lesson was clear. Humanity hadn't just won. They had reminded the galaxy why they were never to be provoked. The war ended before the galaxy could react. In less than 2 weeks, the mighty Korgal Empire, once feared for its conquests, had been reduced to a scattered remnant of leaderless fleets and silent worlds. No one had declared victory. Humanity had not claimed new territory, had not raised their flag over conquered cities. They had simply dismantled an empire, piece by piece, and then stopped. The surviving Korgal ships were allowed to retreat. Their generals were left alive. Their soldiers returned to their worlds, carrying the same message on every trembling lip: do not fight them. When the Galactic Council convened again, the chamber was so quiet that even the hum of the air processors seemed loud. Delegates avoided looking at Mara Ellis as she entered, her calm expression unchanged from the day the debate began. She stood at the center of the chamber, datapad in hand, and waited as the council leader addressed her. The Korgal Empire has ceased to function, the council leader said, his voice faltering. No species in recorded history has done what you just did. Mara tilted her head slightly. We didn't want this war. They asked for it. We gave them what they asked for. A heavy silence followed. Finally, Koresh, the insectoid senator who had long warned against lifting the ban, turned to the council. I move that the ban be reinforced permanently. No human is to serve in combat under any circumstance. We all know why. One by one, the delegates agreed, some reluctantly, some eagerly, most out of pure fear. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was once again banned from combat, not as a punishment, but as a protection for every other species in the galaxy. After the vote, Mara Ellis stepped forward to speak for the first and only time. Her words were measured, calm, almost gentle. You mistake our silence for weakness, she said. But we know what happens when we fight. We've always known. We don't fight to win wars. We fight to end them. That is why we stop fighting. It is why we will try never to fight again. Her eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gaze of every delegate. But remember this. If you force our hand, we will not hesitate. And when we fight, there is no second chance. With that, she left the chamber. No one stopped her. Far across the stars, in the wreckage of the Korgal Empire, the surviving soldiers and civilians rebuilt in fear. They told their children about the humans, not as conquerors, but as something far worse. Not monsters, but predators who chose not to hunt unless provoked. The galaxy fell into a long silence. No one challenged the ban again. Yet deep in the void, far from prying eyes, fleets of human warships remained hidden, silent, and waiting, not as instruments of conquest, but as a promise, an unspoken warning carved into the very fabric of galactic history. Those who remembered the Red Sky Wars understood. Those who had seen the Korgal Empire fall would never forget. Humanity had shown the galaxy the truth. They were not the strongest because of their weapons, nor their ships, nor their numbers. They were the strongest because once they chose to fight, they would do whatever it took to finish the war. And that was why, for as long as the galaxy existed, no one dared provoke them again.